ready to go this morning. It's Wednesday, and we are more than halfway through May. I mean, blink, and it's June, and then it's the middle of the year. So count your days. I mean, it's just incredible, right? I mean, you literally, I know this used to irritate Ben when I'd bring it up, but you blink, and then before you know it, it's the middle of the year. And people are like, oh my God, I had so many dreams and ambitions for 2022, and now I've run out of time. Yeah, that's how it goes. Very annoying. All right, so we've got Simphiwe Mtetwa here this morning, as always, the lovely Simphiwe, and she is ready to keep us company this morning, along with Sunil Osman. How's it, Sunil?
All right, how are you?
All right. Nice to see you guys. How's your Wednesday turning out? You wake up feeling good this morning?
Yes,
Fantastic.
I did.
Fantastic.
Well, I mean, Simphiwe Simphiwe got a last Friday. Was it Friday or Thursday? Thursday.
I think
Friday,
it was Thursday.
She got roses sent to the office by a secret admirer. Yes.
Oh gosh, stop it. You're going to make me blush.
That makes Simphiwe by far the most popular person at Cliff Central for 2022. Nobody else has had anything like roses delivered by a secret admirer. So that's very nice. I mean,
I'm quite flattered.
You have been saying on the show for the last, I don't know, year and a half, like, send me stuff. You put out your gift list every other day. So I'm not surprised that someone eventually took you up on that and said, all right, okay, bitch, I'm going to send you something.
Yes. You know, the famous saying, ask and you shall receive. And definitely I did receive. Yeah. It did put a smile on my face. I'm still blushing a bit.
Nice.
So yeah, it was a cute gesture. And yeah, like, you know, who knows? We might end 2022 no longer single. That will be interesting.
You're giving yourself a 6-month window.
Yeah,
your 6 months is long. Is that how long talking stages are? 6 months? Sure.
Well, listen, I mean, at least you've got a prospect. I didn't talk about this on the show the other day, but I forced myself. It sounds so terrible when I say that. I'm going to take it back and start that sentence again.
Okay.
I went on a date. Okay.
Ooh.
So yeah, I decided. I woke up after I got back from Mexico. I'm like, you know what? This bullshit of being so satisfied in your own company, and I'm okay with being on my own, and I am. All that stuff's true. But I was like, I've got to. If you don't make an effort, you know, it's like that old story about the guy who prays and he prays and he prays. He says, "Dear God, please let me win the lottery. Please let me win the lottery." And God says, in reply, he says to him, "Well, yeah, okay, all right. I'll help you to win the lottery." He's like, "Oh, please, God, I'm pray." So for weeks and weeks and weeks, he does this, and the lottery numbers come up, and he goes, "Oh, I didn't win." So God says to him, eventually in frustration, he's like, "Meet me halfway and buy a ticket." You know? I'm like, well, what I need to do is I shouldn't just because I am happy. And I mean, I don't say that in a glib way, because people often ask me, like, you know, married, you don't have kids. And I love those questions because it means that they think that I should be married and have kids, which is a compliment. I consider it a compliment. I know lots of lovely people who are very happily married and have lovely children. And there's a part of me that thinks that still might be in the future. But there's another part of me that is completely satisfied with where my life is at the moment. I wake up in the morning feeling really pleased to be me. I don't want to be anyone else. I've never looked at anybody else and been jealous. And I sometimes think, all right, well, you can carry on down this path, or you can go on a date and you can meet someone. And then if things spark and it's great, well, then see where it goes. Don't be closed to anything, right? So I went out on a date. I went out for dinner with this girl who she's very pretty, she's clever, she's all of these things. Nice. She ticks a whole lot of boxes. Yeah. And it went really well. And then I invited her to something on Friday last week with a whole lot of my friends, and it was
you guys are even on a second date now. Ooh.
Yeah. Well, I mean, when do you consider it like you're now dating? But I mean, it went really well. So we'll see again I'm not closing any doors, but I'm certainly not saying this is the thing for me. So we'll see what it goes. But I mean, Simphiwe, you got to open yourself up to that stuff too. And if someone's sending you roses, there's probably other people out there who want to send you roses too, but they just haven't manned up enough to do it.
Oh, well, I'm telling you now, please do send your roses and whatever you to get me. I will not say no to anything and anything. In fact, the key to my heart is just to spoil me. Just spoil me rotten.
You want to bless her.
Yeah.
Change my ways of being single. I think that's the best way.
Yeah.
Are you saying you want to bless the Simphiwe?
I'm not opposed to being blessed. That means I don't need to worry about paying for petrol, bills, debit orders. Like
at this point, I'd be willing. I'd be willing to be blessed. I mean, listen, considering the price of petrol and just the cost of living in general, we should all find a blesser if you can.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
do what you got to do.
That's where I'm at.
Do what you got to do.
I'm definitely there.
Well, listen. I mean, if there's anyone who's like, let's say you're a woman in your 90s and you're on the verge of death, but you've got millions in the bank, I'm available. I mean, it's got to be very specific.
On the deathbed.
You got to be like a couple of months from death, because I don't want to be around some smelly old 90-year-old for too long. So it's got to be a couple of days, max couple of months. I'm not going to go much further.
Nothing wrong with Biltong, Gareth.
No.
So Sunil and I, we were getting ready for the show this morning. Normally we don't talk before the show, but he was on nice and early, and so was I. So we were just talking nonsense. He was telling me about radio and kind of how it's going there, because he and I both used to do radio. I haven't listened, and I don't listen on purpose. I've mentioned this on the show before. If I listen to radio, then people ask me what I think, so I don't listen, because then I can't say anything good or bad, and then they don't think that I'm poisoning, their opinion of radio if I don't like it, or saying like these great nostalgic things about radio, which are no longer true. So I just don't have an opinion on radio anymore. But you still listen, right? You still are in touch with what's going on there, Sunil?
Yeah, I listen, especially when I'm driving around and trying to keep in touch with what's going on. And radio's changed so much, Gareth. It's like, I know you say you don't listen, but as I mentioned off air, is that
what do they do? What's going on there?
There's so many changes happening all the time, and some of the presenters that don't, and with all due respect, because there are some really good, talented presenters out there still, but some of them are like, I'm like, why are you even on radio? What? This is not radio. It's like they've forgotten about the listener, and it's just you end up changing between different stations and trying to listen to something, and then end up just putting the radio off because it's not what it used to be. And yes, maybe it's because I came from a talk radio background and all those kind of things too, but there's just this ego, and you get a show if you have 3 million followers. Where's the content?
Are they putting people on who just have big social media followings?
Yeah, I mean, there's one radio station right now which I've noticed are doing pretty well with mixing up that with talent. But I was listening to one of them.
Who are they?
Yeah, so they are called Star FM, and Star FM. If I could get on Star FM right now, I'd be like, Gareth, sorry, I can't do the show.
Who is there that we would know?
So lots of the people, like Nicole De Silva is there. They moved. Yeah, they moved just. I mean, if Nicole left 5 to go to Star FM, and that's huge because she was there for 15 years.
Sure.
And then there's Justin Turin, and just some really highly talented younger talent. Not that I'm old, but young talent from back in the day. And then you get people like Greg and Lucky, who are a great doubleheader, and doubleheaders don't always work, but they work very well.
They were on afternoons on
947.
947, yeah, right.
Yeah. So they now do the breakfast on Star FM, and the mere fact that I know that shows that I'm listening to them more than anything else.
I mean, again, like if we had to have a general knowledge quiz now about who's on the radio, I would definitely lose. But I'm glad to hear that there are still people that are making interesting radio. I mean, listen, What we're doing here is not different from a content point of view. It's just the technology that we use is different. What bothers me is that so much of it, it's just, it's the same in podcasting, right? I mean, there are good podcasts and there are terrible ones.
Yeah, we spoke about podcasts as well. I mean, when Cliff Central first started, I remember I was on my way to Miami to go meet the people from Hot FM, and what they were doing internationally is what you were doing then already, but South Africa wasn't ready for it. And what's interesting for me is that people in the US or overseas that I've interacted with in radio can work for 6 or 7 different radio stations and there's no problem. Here, you can't be part of 10 different brands, otherwise you get lambasted.
Well, I mean, again, you've got such a huge market over there, and they do something which we don't do, syndication. So you can be on. We do one show, but it goes to like 10 different stations.
Yeah,
so that's also good. I mean, there's quite a lot of interesting stuff happening in the media world. But I saw, talking about these people who have all these followers, I saw just today, Elon Musk might not be going through his deal with Twitter. And I don't want to talk about Elon because we've discussed that before. But what's interesting is that they're doing an audit on people's followers. And they discovered, for example, I mean, I think this is pretty telling. And it's kind of a bit scary because what it means is that all the media agencies that rely on like getting people with followers, that's what people talk about. Like, how many followers do you have? That's how valuable you are. They might be using completely terrible statistics and metrics. That you might have been bullshitting because, someone's paid for an influencer who has 20 million followers. Turns out they only have 10. I mean, that's the case with Joe Biden. So he has some 23 million followers or something. I mean, this is very strange for a man who got the most votes in any US election. That's what they say, right? And he has apparently half of his Twitter following is bots.
So what happens is a lot of people buy their followers, and then there are also what they call bots. And the bots are just stagnant. And I know of people in South Africa that have bought their followers. And I know that they are bots.
It's just very weird. It's weird to me that like that was the metric for measuring whether someone was important, famous, successful, influential, all of those words, was how many followers they had. And now it might just all be bullshit. It might be completely false. The reason that the whole Elon Musk deal is stopped or they may have to change the price of each share of Twitter is because if those are fake, then you're not really reaching. You see, if I know I'm going to reach 10 million people and it's going to cost me 20,000 Rand to have 5 seconds of those people's ears, then I'll pay it. But if you tell me that I'm going to reach 10 million people, but you're actually only going to reach 2 million people, then I'm overpaying for you, not only as a Twitter shareholder, but as a client in the media who's trying to reach those people. And you see, this is where the whole media thing is just, it drives me crazy. I still have meetings with people who think the old way about media. I mean, Simphiwe has been in meetings with me too, where I start rolling my eyes when someone goes, well, we're trying to reach like these 10,000 of your listeners. And I'm like, no. If you do stuff with us, they're your listeners, because they don't come. I don't chain my listeners to a post and say, now you have to listen to this. People come and go as they want. We have people who tune in for 5 minutes in the show. We have people who stay for the whole 2 hours. We have people who listen at different times. Some people who are on episodes 10 episodes back, and some people who've never listened to us. And that's great. That's what makes it awesome, is that they choose. In the old days, like you were saying just now, Sunil, you'd get in the car. Usually, if there was more than one person in the car, then you didn't even necessarily get to choose what you would listen to. And then there'd be something on, and you'd have to listen to all the crap. Like, let's say you were actually just a music fan and you just wanted to hear a good song. And then you had to listen to the news and the traffic and the weather and the sport and the ads, and then the DJ telling you what time it was, and the DJ telling you what their name is, and the DJ telling you what the station is. And you're like, play my fucking song. It used to drive me crazy. I was on the radio. I was like, we can't keep doing this to people. It's part of the reason we started doing this. And it's so bizarre to me that old formula still carries on in some ways. Like
Yes.
it's it's like there's a group of
Station
people.
ID, station ID, station ID, station ID, station ID, station ID.
But Neil, I mean, look, there are obviously people who still buy LPs, right? There are people who play records. We all know someone who plays, but they're in the tiniest minority. And they're weird people. I mean, God bless them. Some of them are my friends. People like Randall Abrams, who's like, he's a music aficionado. So he believes that the record is a better, a better way to listen to music and to experience music. And it's a better form of recording. But there are a tiny minority of people. I mean, most people, I don't know anybody who even still has CDs on a shelf somewhere, let alone LPs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh, no, Barrett is one of those. He buys CDs.
Yes, but Simphiwe, Barrett listens only to 80s music. You can't get that in digital.
Yeah, that's the issue. I forgot. Sorry, guys. No, next.
You know what I mean? It's like some of these people who are like, no, we'll carry on doing things the old way because it's going to come back eventually. It's no, guys, it's not. And
it's
the way
that old saying of old is gold, but new is what to do.
Yeah. Oh, EP47 says, I like Sonos speakers. So do I. I've got one of those little portable Sonos speakers. I'll tell you what, first of all, that comes in really handy when there's load shedding because you charge it up before and you connect it to your phone and you can keep listening to music. So that's awesome. I love that. That's really cool. He's going to get himself the Sonos Arc soon. Sounds amazing.
Okay. We see you.
Yeah, there's some funny comments coming through here. So Ruth says that is such bullshit. So I once had a bot rush on my channel and I disabled them. I nearly got to over 1,000, but I want real people on my channel. How do you disable a bot rush? And I mean, that sounds pretty horrible. It sounds like something that happens to you at a festival where you're high on drugs. And people
But does she mean like your comments were like all spam, like on some, hey, I'm Sydney and I did this and you can win and that, like those kind of comments?
So what happens with a bot rush, and person can correct me if I'm wrong, but you put out something on social media and suddenly a bot picks up something, a common word, or the algorithm picks up a common word, and all of a sudden you just have an influx of the most random followers and comments that come through that are completely irrelevant to what you're speaking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, that makes a lot of sense. But I mean, that shit's got to stop. Like if Elon does eventually buy Twitter, the only thing I'll ask is that he takes a blowtorch to this thing and he completely removes any fake accounts, like any accounts that are operating on an algorithm that are picking out words that are not real people. Anything without a picture in the profile for a start, without that real person's ID. Well, you should all be verified. I mean, I don't see why only famous and supposedly influential people need to be verified. Everyone should be verified. You should have to give them your ID. You should have to prove that it's you. And if you break the rules, you get banned for life. And if you are, if you're saying something that is offensive, you have to take the punishment. But they shouldn't be operating stuff in the background that they don't tell us about. That's unethical.
Yeah, and they definitely need some sort of system in place where hackers doing clickbait things can. My account was hacked 4 weeks ago. It was terrible.
Can I ask you something? Are you also getting? Simphiwe, you'll be able to help me on this too, because you're like our social media expert. Have you had friends who suddenly out of the blue, you don't hear from them for like a year or so, and then suddenly they're like, I have started investing Bitcoin and blah, blah, blah. And they've got like but you can tell it's not them. Like, it must be or it's some kind of hacker or something.
Yes.
And they're not even aware of it. Right. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's first of all so annoying. Let me tell you what happened to me yesterday. And I feel bad about this, but I got to get it off my chest. So on my way into the office yesterday morning, I kid you not, for the 12th time in 4 or 5 weeks, the 12th time this has happened, I get a number from this Cape Town number, and I've got that app, the Truecaller that tells you It tells you who it is, right? And it's always from Telkom Mobile. They're trying to get me to upgrade or to change my number or whatever. They're like, "I'm going to save you money." And then when you ask them, "Well, do I have to change my contract?" They're like, yeah. I'm like, "No, thank you. I'm fine. I'm very happy." Because I'm on that network and I like them. And I said to someone 4 calls ago, I was like, "Guys, please take my name off the list. I'll tell you why. I'm happy with you. I like your service. I like your pricing. I'm a satisfied customer. But if I get one more call from you, I'll find someone else. I will." This is like harassment at this point. I do not want to hear from you again. So please just take my name off the list. Put little asterisks there that bad. There's a grumpy old fucking asshole or whatever. Don't call him again. Whatever. Say, call me whatever you like. Just don't phone me again. I don't want your upgrade. I don't want to know about your new pricing deals. I am not interested in getting a call from you ever again. And if you make that deal with me, I'll stay a customer and I'll keep paying my bill and we'll be happily ever after, because that's what you're in my life for. I don't need you as company. I don't want to hear about your new deals, blah, blah, blah. So that was 4 calls ago. 3 calls ago, it happens again. So I'm gritting my teeth, but I tell them the same thing again. 2 calls ago, I see them coming in again, and it's always around 9 o'clock, 9:30 in the morning.
Sure.
So I just can the call now because I got Truecaller. But yesterday, I'm driving in, and the call comes through, and I go, "Hi." The guy goes, "Hi, sir. We're from Telkom Mobile. I just want to ask you if you wanted to have an upgrade, blah, blah." So Tim, listen to me carefully. If you fucking call me again, I promise you I'm changing networks, and this is not an idle threat. I am ready to press the button. Just take my name off that goddamned list, and I never want to hear from your company ever again. Do you understand? This is your last chance to keep me as a customer. Forget about my last chance to take advantage of your deal. And then I put down the phone. I felt kind of bad because he's just trying to do his job. But,
I don't
really.
understand how, like, some companies, how their systems works. Because when I got my tracker, for like the first month or so, the tracker company that I got was calling me to be like, "Hey, do you need a tracker?" And I'm like, "But I'm a customer already. Like, why are you calling me?" Like, does your system not tell you that I'm with you guys? Like, you taking my money? It's like, what happens? Why am I talking to 5 different people about the same thing? It's they must update their systems. Like,
Well, you know what
there's
they do,
something off there.
and there's something very unethical about this too. You talk about how marketing, they give you the wrong number of followers, or they charge you too much for X, Y, or Z in advertising and marketing. But this is another place where they lie and they deceive. And really, somebody should, if they just sent one person to jail, then all of this would stop. And I'm not trying to be controversial. They should send like one marketing executive to jail for this stuff. And I promise you it would stop straight away. So we have this Protection of Personal Information Act, POPI Act, right?
Yes.
Which supposedly means that you shouldn't be put on a database without your own permission, that they can't sell your information on to marketing companies. And a lot of these companies just buy a database, right? Sunil, you know about this too.
Yeah.
And technically, you should be able to charge those people with breaking the law. It's a crime to do that. Because of the POPI Act, there is legislative backing for you to actually take someone to court. And if they are found guilty, they could go to jail or face a very hefty fine. So someone somewhere has just got to take them up on this. Because what's the point in having rules and laws that we all must comply with when nobody actually enforces those laws? So someone's got to go to jail and then it'll stop.
Yeah, and the best is when you get these repeat phone calls from people, and then you say, "Tell me, how did you get my number?"
Yeah,
and that's when they hang up.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, someone says here, my brother fell for the upgrade deal with another network. They never canceled his existing contract. He ended up fighting for months because they took 2 payments off of him every month. You see. That is criminal, right? That's just terrible. Congo Chris says these telemarketing companies pass contact information around like a cake knife at a fat party.
Wow, Congo Chris. Wow.
Nice.
Okay, dude. All right.
No.
But man, it's just one of those. I just don't understand how the system works because it's like,
Yeah.
besides passing the data, it's just like, do you guys not have one long list? And when someone takes off someone or their information, everybody's list gets deleted. That's the bigger issue as well. It's like, I'm a customer now. You have my details.
Well,
I gave you
again,
my details, but you're still calling me to do what?
right.
Rejoin?
But at the same time, like here is so even if I don't take you to court because you've broken the law, because that could end up being expensive for me, right? I mean, I'm gonna have to pay for lawyers. So I understand why maybe people haven't done that and why it's not our job to enforce what governments put in as rules. But here's the deal is that when they call me for the 25th time and I say, take my name off your list, like Will Smith said to Chris Rock, take my wife's name out of your goddamn mouth, right?
Yeah.
I should be able to get that. At least I should be able to say, okay, well, guys, don't call me again because if you call me again, I'm going to be a bit fucking pissed off and I might want to sue your company. I reckon next time they do it, I'm gonna ask who the head of the call center is, and then I'm gonna ask for who the head of that whole division is, and then the person who's in charge of that. And eventually I'm gonna get to the CEO and I'm gonna say to him, all right, now you have two options. Either I'm gonna make an example of you because we'll go to court and I'll find some lawyer who'll do it pro bono probably, and we will sue you for lots of money, lots of money. Or you just take my name off the goddamn list and give me, I don't know, couple of 100,000. I'll leave you alone.
There was,
But you know
there
what's
was a
crazy?
there was a comedian. I can't remember who the comedian was, but I remember watching their joke, and they said when the telemarketer phones you and they asked, "Hello, Gareth, this is so and so from so. How are you today?" You must go, "I'm really not doing well. I'm really not doing well."
Yeah.
Oh.
But it's also, I mean,
Yeah.
so I used to when I had the time to play with these people, and it's also cruel to do that because they're really just trying to do a job, and a lot of them are being
Yes.
paid horrible salary. They're sitting in a room with like 200 other people on headphones, and it's not easy. And I used to go like, "What are you wearing?" and make mouth noises and shit. That really freaks them out. Then they very quickly put down the phone after that. That's pretty good.
I've actually apologized a few times. I say, "Look, I know you're just doing your job, but this must stop. This must stop."
Yeah. DK
Sure.
says, tell them you own a legal company with 100 lawyers and they will track them down and sue their asses off. Yeah, that sounds like bullshit straight up. I'm just not, I don't know if they'll buy that.
Do you know what companies are
Yeah.
scared of? Is the minute you utter, I'm going to tweet about this. And then they're like, oh, okay, how can we help you? And you're like, I'm going to make you I don't know what it is about social media, but all companies are scared of trending for all the wrong reasons. And they know it only takes one complaint on social media for everyone to be like, Vele Telkom, you're useless. Yes, it must fall.
Maybe
The minute you,
maybe that's what
you
I'll
say
finally-
that.
Maybe that's what I'll finally use my Twitter account for, because I haven't used it for like
Yes.
3 years. Maybe we'll use it as just like it's basically a trolling account, and we will just troll businesses that I don't like, and they'll have to pay me money to not troll them.
Yeah.
You're right, though. They're so scared of trending for the wrong reasons that they'll probably
be like, excuse me?
It's like hush money from the mob, right? I mean, I'll be the mob on Twitter, and I'll say like, if you don't leave me alone, or if you don't give me $100,000, I'll just talk about you on social media until you're blue in the face. You'll be begging me to stop. I'm gonna
Not
send
hello
down
Peter, but
Simphiwe.
hello Gareth.
Yeah.
Send down Simphiwe and Sunil. They'll come and shake you guys up a little bit, cause a bit of trouble for you. I like that.
Oh, we're so sorry, Gareth. We apologize. We'll no longer call you. Yeah, we have removed all your data off this list. Rest assured,
This
no
is
more
good.
calls. I promise you, that's
is
what they're
good.
gonna say.
Gary says, I either answer the phone as Boxberg blowjobs or Jameson Nurture. That's good. I like that. Vadner says, tell them to hold on a moment. Then you put the phone next to your earphones in a drawer and play some elevator music and carry on working.
That's so cruel.
Okay. No, I love that. That is cool.
That is cool.
I like that a
Oh
lot.
my gosh.
You say cruel, I say cool. Same thing. I sometimes. I mean, this is the right music to play, right?
Oh no!
That's all you play.
And you know
Or
the
else-
calls are recorded.
Yeah, exactly. You keep going for a whole long time. Or even better, you remember this music when you would call this would be extra ironic because it's Telcom phoning me, but imagine I put them on hold and then I play this.
Oh.
Guys, that's such a mind fuck.
Your
I'm
call
gonna-
is
I'm
important to us. Please hold.
Exactly. I'll say that. I'll do it in the voiceover voice. Your call is important to us. Please hold. And I'll keep that going for like an hour. See how crazy they go. Oh, that's good.
You are number 200 in the line. Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'd love to see how long that call would be if they're actually going to wait.
Ad B is a genius. He says, no, you give the phone to your 3-year-old and you tell them it's Santa Claus. Oh, that's so great. That's so great. Wow. I love that.
See, I like that one. I just don't have a
Mhm.
3-year-old around. Oh.
Well, you got roses. If you work fast, you can have a 3-year-old in a while.
Wow.
I'm not ready for a kid yet. No. No, not at all. No,
Well,
sir.
Here's an interesting question. And Sunil, we haven't asked you about this before we get to headlines. Talking about court, do you think that in the end, the Depp and Heard thing will settle out of court?
I hope
Well,
not.
no. Well, they've already ruined each other's reputation. There's no point in settling now. If they wanted to settle out of court and keep some of this really embarrassing information away from the public, they've failed at that. This is the most public and humiliating trial for a long, long time. So I don't know what the point of settling out of court would be. They've swallowed this pill and it's got to go right through the system now. What do
Yeah,
you
I
think?
also feel that they've started something that has to go right till the end. It can't suddenly just go settle
Yeah.
out of court. It's not going to be one of them going, okay, no, I'm sorry about your dog stepping on a bee. I'm out. No.
I can't believe that was even part of the testimony. I mean, Simphiwe, have you been watching?
Yeah, so I watched like clips on Twitter and YouTube because I can't stomach the whole thing.
No.
But I wouldn't say my new favorite person, but someone who's like everyone's loving on social media is Dr. Carey. No, Dr. Carey. Like everyone's like, she's so hot, she's so sexy when she puts on her glasses, and everyone's like,
Mhm.
okay. Yeah, I'd love to just like see her. So I'm seeing it from that perspective as well. It's just like how people are getting distracted by Dr. Carey, and she's like, she's so hot. Whatever she says,
Nice.
yes, we agree. Ooh.
People are so easily distracted by this. I mean, here we are. We're already distracted from our own stupid lives. Johnny Depp and Amber Heard stuff is not going to affect any of us at all, right? None of us.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have
Well,
any
I just
impact.
now
bring
know how
out
bad
some
it can get.
things.
It'll bring up interesting subjects. And by the way, we've discussed it a lot on the show, but it doesn't really affect our lives.
No.
Then, within that distraction of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard, we're distracted even more by like some character of this testimony or that psychiatrist or this lawyer or whatever. So inside the distraction, we still have more distractions. That's how dumb we are. And we keep falling for this stuff.
There was a trend actually of how Johnny's lawyer keeps touching his hand and touching his arm, and they were like, "Oh, that makes such a nice couple." There was a
wow.
trend going out on that.
Sure.
People are dumb.
Sure.
People are so dumb.
Yeah.
All right, so here's a story. This is an unfortunate story. Paramedics were held hostage while an ambulance was stripped of 300,000 Rand in engine, gearbox, battery, and tires.
Sure.
Again, I don't think we're talking to the people who listen to this show, but when are we going to learn in this country? It's like when people burn down a school because they're angry about service delivery and then no one has a school to go to, or when people put rocks in the road and they damage the road because they're angry that people haven't given them toilets or whatever. All we're doing is you're not making it better for yourself or for anyone else. You're making it way, way worse. So I understand if you're a desperate person and you think the only way that you can make money is to steal. But just understand that when you do that with an ambulance, that's one less ambulance that could be the one that rescues you in a situation where you really need it, or a family member or a friend. I mean, I don't mess with ambulances. I get out of the way when they're on the road and they flash and they need to get past. I know those paramedics work hard. They are mostly, I mean, these are volunteer people a lot of the time. Some of them are professionals, but some of them are volunteers. They are there to save lives. And then they get held up by like petty criminals who are going to steal car parts. I mean, some people really, I mean, we just need those guys who did that, the people who held up that ambulance, really, there's no need for a trial there. We just shoot them in the head. Those people are holding the whole of society back. It's just, and do not let the paramedics try to save them when you shoot them in the head. Honestly, this is just a terrible story. So speaking of Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, because it is the big news story that everyone's talking about, she has finally decided in the trial that it is torture and she wants to move on. Now she wants.
Oh my word!
She told the jury that she filed for divorce from Johnny Depp in May 2016 because she feared for her life. And she said, it's torture. I wish he would just leave me alone so I can move on with my life. I had to leave him, she said. I knew I wouldn't survive if I didn't. I was so scared that it was going to end really badly for me. Well, you've ended up in court with him suing you for ruining his entire career. So I don't know if it gets much worse than this, Amber. I don't know how much worse you expect it to go. Heard said Depp would become a physically and sexually abusive monster when he was drinking, and her efforts to curtail his drug and alcohol use had failed. The monster had been this thing that was now the normal and not the exception. You know, the way people talk.
That's also just in itself. Like, that entire sentence doesn't make sense. What do you mean? You're okay with him being a monster once a week? You know?
And she even admitted to doing drugs herself, so she's just trying to push her own things onto him. So,
well, for his part, Johnny Depp, during his 4 days on the witness stand, denied ever hitting Heard and claimed that she was the one who was frequently violent. He filed suit against her when she wrote an op-ed in the Washington Post in December 2018. And by the way, the Washington Post should also be sued in this case because they just published this without any evidence. And then he lost all his jobs as a result of that. And I'm no Johnny Depp fan. I'm really not a big fan of his. But this just seems really unfair. So he should go after the Washington Post as much as he's going after her. Anyway, the Texas-born Heard countersued, asking for $100 million, and claims she suffered rampant physical violence and abuse at his hands. So we'll see where this goes. She says, filing for divorce was the hardest thing I've ever had to do. Well, wait till you have to pay over $50 million. That'll be the hardest thing you've ever had to do. I don't think she has $50 million. Do you?
No, nobody has it. She's going to be paying what, $1,000 for the rest of her life, because that's what they do.
Right.
Or something like that.
And the most privileged human being that's ever existed, Prince Harry, is terrified of what social media could do to his children. Oh, this man is he's the weakest man in the world. If a girl married a guy and he was this weak, she would be thinking to herself, I think being a single mom is probably easier. Because this guy is just absolutely incapable of looking after himself, let alone children, let alone me. He has 2 kids, Archie, who's 3, and Lily, who's 11 months. He slammed online companies for designing platforms at the expense of young people and insisted it was impossible for parents to protect their children from harm on the internet. No, it's not. It just means hard decisions, like not giving your children a phone until they're of a certain age. That's all it takes. Harry,
learning how to use parental controls.
Just learn to parents say no, need to take accountability. Like, just take accountability. It's your child. And whatever the world does, you just need to prep them to be able to live in this world. You can't be like, oh, this is bad, this is good. No, you need to teach your child what's good and bad, and then throw them into the world and see if they survive. So,
look, again, I'm not a parent, so I'm not going to tell other parents what to do. But if you're going to be complaining about the internet, just understand the internet was not designed for you to be a better parent, and the internet was not designed for your children. It was not put together with that in mind. Otherwise, it would be something that only existed in preschool, and we wouldn't use it after that. The internet has many different uses, and by far, it has more good things going on than it has bad. By far. But certain stuff is absolutely inappropriate for children. Guess what? I'm sorry, parents, and I don't like beating up on parents on this show because I know it's tough being a parent. But it's kind of all in your court when it comes to this. You can't expect the whole of society to conform to your parenting style. You need to adapt your parenting style either in a more strict way or in a less strict way so that you can control what your children see. You're the one with your hands on the controls if you're a parent. Not my responsibility or Simphiwe's or Mark Zuckerberg's or anyone else to make sure that your kids don't get, to see some offensive tweet or much, much worse than that. It's really up to you. And I'm sorry, the rest of us are not about to give up the marvels of the internet just because you can't raise your kid properly. Sounds horrible, but that's how it is. Agree, Sunil?
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, there's a lot of truth in everything that you said there, because if you look at children at the age of 3 years old now compared to 10 years ago, a 3-year-old knows how to go onto social media. They know how to use tablets. They know how to use all these things. They don't just learn that when they come out of the womb.
Mm-hmm. Preach on it.
Wow. 3-year-olds? Really?
They are. If you can go find a 3-year-old that actually goes and knows how to operate the TV, knows how to navigate YouTube, knows how to navigate what they want to watch because mommy and daddy have shown them.
Mm-hmm. That is true. You're preaching.
This
goes back to they must take accountability. That's all I'm saying. Take accountability of your child. That's it. I'm not saying you're a good parent or a bad parent, but just take accountability of the things that you expose your child to, because whatever you teach your child is what they're gonna bring into the world. And so if you teach them right from wrong, I think by the time you ship them off into the world, they'll be able to survive whatever's thrown their way. That's it.
Well, Silicide says, isn't Prince Harry a frog who used to be a prince? I love that. That's great. Yeah. I think Harry's kids are going to be more pissed off that he walked away from royal status. Congo Chris, oh, you better believe it. When those kids grow up, they're going to be like, you know what, Dad, we could have been living in a palace now. You're living in this shitty house in Malibu with mom who's just constantly trying to be on TV, and with you who's moaning about your mental health the whole time. We could have been in a palace. Are you kidding?
I'd be big mad. I would, I'm thinking now, if someone was like, oh, you're actually from royalty, I'd be like, all my life I had to struggle. Excuse me? What?
Imagine them going to some shitty LA, even a good LA high school, and they're like with Kardashians and like other trashy celebrities, and they're like, Lily or whatever her name is, Archie. They walk into school that morning. Archie goes, Lily, I wonder if the other children will call us your Royal Highness. And they walk up and the other kids are like, who the fuck are you? And the kids are like, I wish Dad had just kept our titles.
I'd actually be like, this is abuse. Can I sue you? Can the pain and trauma? I could have lived a very soft life. In fact, I could have been living a royal life. That's very different.
If I were Lily and Archie, I would try to get William and Kate to adopt me and get rid of my parents. Just push them into the sea. That's what you do.
Shucks.
Unreal. My son's therapist is treating a family with a 6-year-old who's addicted to porn. She was left alone with an iPad, says Tracy. Yeah, you see, now that's just, that is just absolutely horrendous. That's an actual, I mean, I have no reason to disbelieve Tracy, but a therapist treating a 6-year-old who's addicted to porn. I mean, really, if you're a parent.
Guys, no.
Jesus, bad. That's really bad. EP47 says, definitely, GC. I got angry when I found out my grandparents and parents sold land for dirt cheap because they thought the government were going to take it from them again back in the day in Kryfontein. Yeah, you see?
Oh, wow.
You find out your parents cheated you out of something. I said to my parents the other day, I said to them, you know what? Don't expect any special treatment when you get really old and you need to be looked after. But unless you've got some inheritance in the bag for me, expect nothing. Cheapest, nastiest old age home where they feed the old people dog food and it's not
Why,
even warm
Gareth?
at night.
Oh,
No.
Why?
Hey.
Wait.
Come on. I was you either you have the retirement policies that you should have been putting in place the whole way through your life. You look after yourself, and I think they do, so I'm not too worried. But I like the threat anyway. You know, it's amazing how when you're the kid, your parents are like, you're going to live in my house, you can live by my rules. And I'd be like, well, you're not even getting into my house, but I'm still going to make the rules for you.
Wow, I can't wait to. Okay, I know I'll never say that to my grand, but like in my mind, I can't wait to be like, you did this to yourself. I'm not helping you with anything.
What you should say to your gran is like, the next time she makes some kind of unreasonable demand, you must be like, just remind me how much inheritance I'm getting again, because she's going to say that's just a nice way of kind of quid pro quoing that.
I'm gonna try that, and if I don't get a slap, then yeah.
Well, I hope you don't.
Studio.
So one last quick story in the news. They've managed to avoid flight cancellations at OR Tambo. They secured 20 million liters of jet fuel just in time. So that's, again, very good work by, I suppose we'd have to give who? AXA credit for that? Or the Jet Fuel Forum Committee, which is a body made up of the Department of Energy, Airports Company South Africa, and the International Air Transport Association. They announced that the supply of jet fuel remains sufficient for all airlines operating at OR Tambo. So there we are.
How long?
Well done, the Jet Fuel Forum Committee.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. No.
I
But
didn't even
is
see
like
that
20 million a lot for an airplane? Because I know that they burn through petrol like it's nothing. So is that actually a decent? Should we be happy with 20 million, or is that
no? So they like to have 3 to 5 extra days of fuel in reserve.
Oh,
so you should have enough to be able to do 3 to 5 extra days. But it's not petrol. Simphiwe, they use kerosene and naphthalene. Well, they use avgas is what they call it. So it's just a slightly more refined form of carbon-based fuel. But I mean, again, if we can repair all of that damage in KZN and get all our transport routes and our various networks and railways and all of that stuff reconnected and back up and running, then this won't be a problem. So again, get cracking, municipality of eThekwini, and let's fix everything. We need to get these things moving. All right. So speaking of
everybody listening out for those tenders.
Oh yeah, you know they are, right? You know what's going on.
And you know, my only issue is that it is eventually going to get fixed. Like they are going to repair the roads. It's just how long it's going to take them, which is my issue. Is that a project that can take them 6 months is going to take them 6 years, and it's just like come on, guys, let's move with the times. Let's be on it like this. Come on now.
Well, they're already making excuses there. I saw someone on the news yesterday who was talking about, we're waiting to secure funding from Treasury. I'm like, you know what? This is exactly why people pay taxes. We don't pay taxes so that we can pay the Cubans 50 million rand, which we apparently gave them last month. So if the government is not prioritizing this, then I don't know why we need to have a government. I mean, it's that simple. This should be priority number one, not just for the people of KZN, but to the people of South Africa who need reliable transport to and from our ports. Fix Durban Port, fix the railways, fix the roads, and get on with it. That's why we pay you a salary if you're in government. No more excuses. We want action. All right.
Yes.
So there's something interesting happening. A friend of mine, I haven't seen him in years, but he's busy putting together something called Beats in the Bush, which is amazing. It's South Africa's first music, lifestyle, and safari experience all in one. How does this sound for you, Sunil? Nice, huh?
It sounds like a jewel.
Yeah. So it's going to be at a place called Bayala Safari Lodge, which is a premier Big Five lodge, which is based in the Munyawana Game Reserve, which is in northern KZN. So imagine... And I'm trying to just picture it for myself before we bring Brett on to explain it to us. imagine being in the bush with a whole lot of your friends, this magical natural surrounding, and a party at this lodge, and then you can go for safari the next day. You can see all these wild animals, and also, of course, support local tourism, which we know has had a very tough time recently. So here he is, Brett Roux. How are you doing, man?
Gareth, how's it? Good to see you.
Good to see you. This sounds really good. And Sunil and obviously Simphiwe and I are all very, very excited about the sound of this. When did the idea first start? And have you done it before, or is this the first one?
So, Gareth, this was really an idea that stemmed out of lockdown and the necessity to get things going back in the tourism industry after everything that happened with COVID and that horrible debacle. So we started it last year, and we had our first event. We had 3 weeks to execute it, which was obviously immense pressure at the time. And we pulled it off. We sold out, and it was an amazing success, and it's gone from strength to strength from there.
But surely, because this is in a private game reserve and it's a lodge, there isn't accommodation for everybody. So it's limited, right? There's only a few people who can actually come.
Yeah, it's very limited. So the idea was to kind of target a sort of a large wedding size event. So we thought at our age that was kind of like a sweet spot. So something that was not going to be like a big festival that was going to have 5,000 people, and something that was not going to be just something very small, like 50 people. So we kind of aim for that 200 person size. So it's very intimate. It's extremely, and because of that, you can get like a real personal detail. We're able to pay great attention to our guests. But yeah, it's enough of a size to create a really good energy for the event, which is it's basically a wedding in the bush without all the formalities.
A wedding without a wedding couple. So all the good stuff around the wedding. And by the way, some amazing musical guests. And I mean, I've seen Good Luck in concert before. They're absolutely incredible. Plush, amazing. And you've got some other names there as well. So it's only it's 2 nights.
So it's 2 nights in the bush. So it's a short, sweet event. I mean, it's relatively close from Joburg, very close from Durban. We actually co-promote the event with Good Luck. So our business, our African Footprints, which is a travel business, I used to work in the music industry many years ago. I reached out to Jules and I said, "Hey, Jules, would you like to play?" And she said to me, "Brett, I'd like to do one guest. I'd like to co-promote." And so they're obviously a key factor and a very big necessity when pulling this all together with their experience. And we've got some amazing other artists, including a name a lot of people recognize on that team sheet there, Plush, which we've basically pulled them out of retirement after 8 years. Rory and I are good friends and godfather to his daughter. And I'm so excited to get them out of the wilderness. Yeah.
That's so cool, dude. All right, so let's just talk about the details of this for a second. So it comes out of lockdown because obviously a lot of these places, especially the local lodges that relied hugely on foreign tourists, and we know that we've seen a massive decline in foreign tourists. We know that the travel and tourism business, the industry, has really been hit very hard by COVID. And there are lots and lots of people who found it extremely difficult to get back up and running. I mean, the costs of running these places is, very high. If you're in a private game reserve, you've got to fix fences, you've got to look after staff salaries, you've got to keep the lodges maintained, you have to look after the animals. It's a massive, massive thing. And if you don't have that regular tourist income, that hits people very, very hard. And some of them have obviously gone and had to sell and had to make very, very difficult decisions. But now we're seeing a return. And what we need to do here is stimulate the local tourism industry, which is probably a little bit harder than the foreign money, because the foreign money, when you exchange it for rands, is a lot more, right?
100%. COVID was catastrophic for the tourism industry, and those lodges cost an absolute fortune to keep going. The staff relies purely on that tourism to come through, and more importantly than almost all of that is that, their fences to be maintained and the animals to be looked after, and the APU, which are the anti-poaching units to be supported. And, when tourism ended, and when it ended, we all know that it ended on one day. It just dried up. There's nothing anyone could do, and it ended for a long period. And so a lot of these lodges, or all of the lodges and everyone in the industry, suddenly found themselves going, how do we make this work and how long can we hang in here? And so they hung in for a period, and it became more and more catastrophic, more and more of a worry. And eventually things started loosening up. And it was through the support of the local market initially that really got everyone sort of back on their feet, at least, just to get some income to pay staff. And, you know, a lot of the lodges support the local communities and there's a big emphasis in supporting the local community. So it really rippled down. It was a very difficult time for everybody in the industry. And as I said, so that's kind of what we thought, hey, let's do something and get tourism back on the map and do something exciting. And obviously concurrently with the tourism market, the entertainment industry also got absolutely hammered. So it was a good blend of kind of trying to get energy back into two markets.
So someone just asked in the comments, isn't blasting this loud music out into the game reserve, isn't it that bad for the animals? Is that something that you get from people often?
Very often, and it's a valid question. I mean, obviously people want to voice their concerns about these sort of things, but we set it up like we would, as I said earlier, as a wedding would. The sound is quite restricted because it faces inward toward the lodge, and if the animals don't love it, they're welcome to walk away for a brief period of time. But we generally find that they're fine. Hey, they manage to cope well. You know, a lot of game reserves run along communities that play music, and we actually find that there isn't a big effect on the creatures. Yeah.
All right, well, that's good news. So everything has to be included with something like this because you're really in the middle of nowhere. I mean, you're out in nature. It's beautiful. It's slightly isolated. But you said the tickets are limited. What do those tickets include if people are coming along?
So it includes everything, which is your accommodation, your accommodation, your live music, all your meals. There's a little pool party event that happens in between. It's your nature walks. There's yoga that's happening for our guests. The only thing that you pay up and above for are your drinks, because we all know how people are. And really, yeah, it's a whole weekend. It's a whole weekend taken care of. You can leave your wallets at home.
Yeah, no. If you're going to be drinking, Simphiwe, Sunil, you know, when Brett says, you know how people are, so you're both smiling because that's the one part.
I was like, no, never. Yeah. What are you talking about? Never.
And a GNT in the bush is never just one.
All right. Well, listen, good luck to you. I think this sounds absolutely phenomenal. So it's at Bayala Safari Lodge. You can find out more by going onto Howler, or you can go to beatsinthebush.co.za. And you can find out all about these dates, 27, 28, 29 March of 2022. So I'm sorry, May. So it's in just 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, we
next weekend.
10 days out. We're right around the corner. We've only got a couple of rooms available. It's our last little push now.
Oh, wow. Okay. So basically, this is your last chance. Go ahead and do it right now. I think we've just lost Brett. I think he's just been cut off. All right. But there's all the info you need. How does that sound? Sound like a good way to spend your time?
I think there should be a bar tab.
Alrighty. I see you, Sunil. I see you want to make sure that you can just drink easy without having to worry.
That's it. He said leave the wallet at home, so I want to completely leave the wallet at home and just worry about maybe just I don't know, having a warm shower.
Well, you are going to have a warm shower if you're there. But Tracy says, I doubt 60/60 delivers that amount of booze in the middle of the bush surrounded by apex predators. So, yes. Make sure you bring along your wallet. Okay, so that sounds like fun.
The one thing that was going through my mind when I was hearing him speak was, I hope this is not a fire festival. Like,
they've already they had one already last year, so it doesn't sound like.
Oh, okay, so I can trust. Okay,
I'll vouch for him. That's for real. Okay, very, very nice. That's what we've got time for in this hour, but we've got a whole other hour of stuff coming your way, including, I'm very excited, Professor David Block, who I know everybody has missed and who everybody loves. He is an astronomer. He is a highly sought-after international speaker. He's devoted over 40 years to encouraging people to always look up. That's what he says. You'll meet him just now if you haven't met him before. But Prof. David Block is going to join us because we have to talk to him about the photograph of the black hole that they took in outer space. And we're going to talk to him about that eclipse that we had on Monday, which I think a lot of people are still interested in. So all of that and more on the way. cliffcentral.com. Don't you go anywhere. We will catch up with you in just a moment.
This week on the Auto Trader podcast.
Ferrari's actually, no, they definitely first as contractors as well, because Charles has 71 points, which is more than Mercedes.
Well, I've just looked it up. So I mean, Sainz is not doing that badly.
Yeah.
Perez is also not doing that badly. But if I look at the last couple of races, both Sainz and Perez have been way off their teammates. Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
Just because it's about technology, connecting your business to the rest of the world doesn't mean you need to send rockets to space and use complicated solutions. Want to simplicate things? Well, join Jaco Voigt, who is the CEO of Catalytic, on the Unbundled podcast. With skin in the game and a keen focus on educating and assisting you and your business, Jaco decodes all the aspects of connectivity, security, and cloud solutions. Unbundled is brought to you by Catalytic and is available on cliffcentral.com, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Yes, indeed. It is Wednesday morning, cliffcentral.com, and loads of things going on. Just by the way, as a quick deal, Dori's just let me know now, Dori, the producer, Dori, has just told me that Brett actually sent us a special deal. So if you listen to Cliff Central and you want to go along to Beats in the Bush, there's a special 10% off. Only for people who listen to us. Just use the promo code Friends of Beats. That's FRIENSOFBEATS. That's if you're thinking of going. And check it out. Listen, it is in northern KwaZulu-Natal, so you got to get there. But otherwise, get your tickets ASAP. That's the only thing I would say is just look at the map so that you actually know where you're going, because you still have to get there. And then once you're there, you're going to have the best time ever. But there it is. Special deal for Cliff Central listeners, 10% off. All right. I see Bitcoin, talking about 10% off, is still hovering under $30,000. So for anybody who was thinking that this was going to be their year to cash in on Bitcoin, you remember those people who were telling us, oh, don't worry, it'll be at $100,000 by the end of the year? Remember those people? Remember them?
Not at this rate. No, honey.
And we will check in with Sean Sanders and the team from Revix in the next couple of days to find out what they have to say about this. Because there are a lot of people who are going, I mean, anyone who's invested in anything at the moment is going, There's no one in the world who's going, yes. because nothing's going up. Gold's gone up a little bit, but everything else is suffering a little bit. So this is the case when you have what they call inflation, which we're dealing with. We know about that because if you fill up your car at the petrol pump, you know what inflation is. All right, a couple of things to talk about before we get to Prof. David Block, who I know everybody's very excited about. I mean, I see people saying here that they can't wait to hear from Prof. David Block. He's incredible. That's from Moonchild. You made my day, says EP47. That's so great. So lots and lots of people talking about this. All right, we've got so much to do today. I just want to quickly get to a few things. First of all, we are going to see the first transgender woman in the Miss South Africa Top 30.
Yes.
They recently announced the Miss South Africa Top 30. If anybody still watches Miss South Africa, it may be interesting to you that we have our first transgender Miss South Africa. But if it's Miss South Africa, can we really call her Miss South Africa if she wins? I mean, is it only a matter of time before we have to call it them or they South Africa, which is not great grammar, but just for keeping the pronouns in check. What do you say to this? Sunil and Simphiwe, go for it. It's all yours.
I'm not thrilled about this. Honestly, I'm definitely team. I think we need to have a transgender section for things
like a Miss,
from
Miss
sports.
Transgender, listen to me, Miss Transgender South Africa, and then you have Miss South Africa, Mr. South Africa.
Like I'm definitely like in that regard, like I'm like great that you are transgender, but for me, I think it just needs its own category in all regards, from sports to a beauty pageant, right? Like in all regards. And so if I'm like, I don't know how to feel about this, because if you do, and like for example, if we had to be like, you've entered Mr. South Africa before, and then you win it, and then you do a change, and now you Miss South Africa and you win that. Like, it's just like, homie, why are you winning both? You have both titles now. So no.
Vanna says call it person South Africa then. But he goes on to say, we already have those. They're called drag shows. Which is so what? Sunil, we're getting like weird feedback from you on that side. I don't know what's happened.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know why I have these feedback, but anyway, I hope it's fine now.
That's better.
So I mean, I was part of Mr. South Africa. I was in the top 10 for 2019.
Oh, sorry, we didn't know about that because no one watched it.
But what was interesting was that at that particular time, it was taken over by somebody by the name of JP Roberts.
Yeah.
And whether you were 10 feet tall, whether you had a six-pack, whether you had a hairy chest or not, the criteria for Mr. South Africa had changed completely. And yes, perhaps we are moving to a person South Africa kind of thing, because we have to have that kind of unity amongst all people. Yeah. But as to what to call it, I don't know.
Hang on a second. What you did this I'm so glad you're on the show today when this came up, because you'll actually be able to help us with this stuff. So Simphiwe has a point of view, and some people will say that's controversial, but she says there should be Mr., Miss, and a transgender South Africa, or whatever, and we can have all three, or we can even have 5 categories, whatever. That's great, right, Simphiwe? I'm not paraphrasing you. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. So, Sunil, from your point of view, you were in Mr. South Africa. Of course, nobody knows because nobody watched Mr. South Africa. Nobody even knew it was happening. I don't know if anybody knows who the current Mr. South Africa is. No disrespect to you, but it's just not like a thing. So what are these criteria if it's changed from not having to be a good-looking guy who's healthy, who has a six-pack, who's, a great example of a man, just like Miss South Africa should be a great example of a woman, which kind of plays into Simphiwe's theory that we need different categories. But what are the criteria now for Mr. South Africa?
Well, I mean, look, I was a part of it in 2019, and back then it was purely you must be able to deliver on being a stand-up citizen. It's not just about the body. And there were gay people who were part of it as well, and people were throwing their toys out the cot, saying that, well, then they should be part of Mr. Gay World only, not Mr. South Africa. Where at the end of the day, JP Roberts was trying to say, every person who identifies as a male should be able to be part of Mr. South Africa. So the criteria were that you're a stand-up citizen, that you're a good person, that the more humane things instead of the body sculpting.
Okay, but that's everyone. Like, so what? You're an upstanding citizen. I know plenty of upstanding citizens who we don't have to call Mr. South Africa. There are good people who are, I don't know, priests, teachers, nurses, doctors, and that's not a criteria. Like, Mr. South Africa should surely be the guy in South Africa that we are most proud to show the international world is like a representative of us. Isn't that the point?
That is the point, and that's part of the reason. I'm very glad to have made it to the top 10. I just want to say that again. I did make it to the top 10, and it was daunting because I was the shortest person, and I had to start off walking on the catwalk in a Speedo with these really tall, well-sculpted people. And in fact, I know that people have Googled images of me and found images of me in the Speedo, just so everybody knows it was cold on that day. Do not judge my package. But the gentleman who actually did win kind of won with those kind of impressions where he could be somebody that goes to represent South Africa. So when the community, when South Africa voted for people, they voted for the right people at the end of the day.
All right, first things first. We're still getting a bit of feedback from your mic, so I'm just going to pull down your levels for a second. But so here's the picture of Sunil. I know you all want to see it. Simphiwe, you ready? You want to see a picture of Sunil in a Speedo? All right, here it is. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching us on YouTube, there's another reason why you should like and subscribe and watch our YouTube channel in the mornings. Here's a picture of Sunil standing poolside.
Look at that body. Just look at that body.
Hey, look, you're not in terrible shape. I mean, it's not an embarrassing. If that's the picture of me that was shirtless on the internet, I wouldn't be like horrified and embarrassed. It's not terrible at all. But no one really wants a picture of them in a Speedo unless they're an underwear or swimsuit model, obviously. But there it is. So that's not so bad. And you did make the top 10. So again, credit to you. But I think all of these things have just been. It's no longer what it was meant to be. The whole reason we had a Miss South Africa was to find the most beautiful girl in the country. The whole reason we had a Mr. South Africa was to find the best looking guy in the country. That's all it was. It was vapid. It was stupid. But if you want to do like a humanitarian fundraising thing, then call it something else. Call it Mr. Humanitarian Fundraising thing. Don't you think?
Yes. Yes.
So there were different criteria within the Mr. South Africa where you get the main person who's Mr. South Africa, then you get the person who gets the humanitarian side, then you get the person who's the most inspiration. So they had different sashes they would give out to the different people. So those criteria were still there. Look, I don't know what the criteria are going to be for this year, and I don't know how they're going to be looking this year. But I can tell you with all due respect again, that I've seen one or two of the social media posts and
yeah, well.
You're not happy. Well, look,
so here it is. Silicide says, I wanted to enter as car of the year, but unfortunately I identify as a Rooivalk helicopter. I'm a transformer. So that's exactly the point, I think. Vanna says, so we basically then have a competition to see who's the most roundly achieved South African, which we can all agree is Elon Musk. So actually there's no point in anyone else having a competition. A big surprise, says Congo Chris. Sunil bragging about not wearing pants again. Remember when you were last?
That's your trend.
When you were last on the show, you were wearing pants. There he's wearing pants today. How exciting for us.
Is it that cold that you had to wear pants?
Douglas says, I was already Googling the picture. You see, you shouldn't have even brought it up, Sunil. Now everybody's going to find that picture.
At the time when I was part of it, there was actually a very big social media blow up. And what they did is they took all the finalist names and people were circling the faces of the people that were like, how did this person get in? How did this person get in? How did that person get in? Yeah. It was all over the news. It was everywhere. It was crazy. It was crazy, actually.
Yeah.
All right.
But
well,
at the end of the day, it's a beauty pageant. So you need to look good for that part. And all I'm saying is that just get the right people for that part. Like, that's it. Like, we can have 10,000 beauty pageants. I have no issues with that. But
we probably do.
Yeah,
I mean,
but I'm
there's
just
someone is walking around with a sash that says Miss Krugersdorp on it. Someone.
There's probably even a Miss Boxburg.
I was at a TC booking this past weekend, and there was somebody walking around with a sash saying First Princess Miss Krugersdorp.
No, you see, told you. There we go.
Not even joking. We could do a Miss Cliff Central if we wanted to, and a Mr. Cliff Central if we wanted to.
No.
We used that. We had a special, but mine was for special talents. So we found a girl who could lick her own elbow, and we found a guy who could bend his knee the opposite way like a flamingo. We had now everybody tries that when you say lick your own elbow. It's really hard to do. You can't. It's not easy to do. So this girl could. I actually saw her about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and then we had a whole lot of other people with like freaky talent. There was this one girl who could like make her tongue do a W in the front. Some very bizarre skills in South Africa. I'm telling you, this is the stuff we need. We need pageants like that. That stands out from the crowd. You know,
Mr. and Mrs. Fear Factor.
That's also good.
Okay, I wouldn't sign up for that. No, can't do that. Then you're gonna have like bugs on your face, and can't do
but
that.
Again, Simphiwe, someone somewhere will answer. Will audition for that. Someone will want to join. Someone will want to win.
Yeah, not me.
It's a real thing. All right.
It's a real thing.
Speaking of this, so there are obviously more and more people who are making money on OnlyFans. These are obviously people who didn't win the pageants. But apparently, this again, Simphiwe can confirm or deny this. Someone called Bad Barbie she just made $50 million on her OnlyFans. That means just for putting up like what, naked pictures, naked videos. What does she do?
Oh, suggestive. I haven't subscribed, so I don't know what she's putting. But it could be suggestive. It could be. It's the girl that was on Dr. Phil's show, the one who said, "Catch me outside." How about that?
Oh, you are kidding!
Oh, wow.
Yes, she's like 19 now. She's been on OnlyFans for like a year. And within a matter of hours, she made like $1 million when she signed up. And then on Instagram, she pulled out receipts that she actually had made $50 million US. Like,
you said she's 19 now. She's 19. Okay,
yes,
so she's legal now. She's legal.
She's legal. Yeah. She's
legal.
been on the platform for about a year. And that's how much money she's made in a year. I'm in the
I
wrong
know
profession.
people that are making money off feet pictures.
Yeah. Oh, no.
I'm in the wrong profession, guys. No.
We had Nina Hasty on a while ago, and she told us she's been offered like $50 to $100 for a foot picture by these pervy guys. Here is a picture of Bad Barbie on OnlyFans. Are you ready? There she. Oh, sorry. That's Sunil in his Speedo. So sorry. Yeah. Here she is. This is Bad Barbie. This is the Cash Me Outside girl who made herself famous by being an absolute brat on the Dr. Phil show. Apparently now she will do like naked stuff on OnlyFans, and she's made $50 million. Look, even if she's only made a fifth of that, let's say she's only made $10 million, that's still outrageous. She's not that good looking, if you ask me. She's not particularly smart. And if she's made more than $10 million, just even if it's more than $1 million on OnlyFans, then she's cleverer than all of us, which is very embarrassing because I don't have $1 million in the bank. And if Cash Me Outside, if that girl has $1 million, even if she's not lying and it's $50 million, if you believe it, the world is messed up, man.
I think we should sell my Speedo picture on OnlyFans and see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
Problem with your Speedo picture is that now everyone has already seen it, Sunil. They're not going to pay for it a second time. So take other Speedo pictures, start an OnlyFans, and who knows, you could become our Cash Me Outside. How about that? Simphiwe, does this change your opinion on what work is?
I just realized that my morals are holding me back. Because I think if I did not have the kind of morals that I have today, definitely I would be on OnlyFans and I'd be like, deuces, I made 50 million in a year. That's the crazy part, is that in a period of 12 months, that's how much you've made. And you're only 19.
But you know that it is. I know it's pretty much frowned upon in South Africa, but there are tons of people internationally that are doing OnlyFans and making a hell of a lot of money. But I personally know of 3 people that come to mind immediately that have actually even done porn clips for OnlyFans in South Africa to pay for things like studies and things, and they're still making money. There is a way to block the viewership in South Africa where only people internationally, and they're getting paid cash money. The one girl I know paid for all of her studies, and she only slept with one person.
Oh, you see, it's things like that where I'm like, this sounds great in theory. Like, I wish I could be that girl, because I would be fun in life.
Pure, you say your morals are holding you back. I'll tell you what, for $50 million, if that's what that terrible woman, that Cash Me Outside girl's getting, for $50 million, you can have my morals and all the pictures. I'll give it. I'll tie my morals in a nice little. I'll make a little present like this. I'll make a little box. I'll put my morals inside it, and I'll send them your way for $50 million.
Imagine how many roses you'll be getting then, Simphiwe.
Let me tell you something. Who in the whole world? Who in the whole world cares that much about your morals? They might care that much about their morals, but so maybe for a couple of weeks, it's going to be embarrassing for you when you're like close friends and family are like, "Ooh, you're an OnlyFans. That's so awful. It's a terrible thing." I'm telling you, like a couple of days after that, when you start making money, if you can, if people are willing to pay you, I don't know how it all works, whether they offer you money or whether you just pay a subscription or whatever it is. But I reckon if you're so hot and if you're so sexy and so gorgeous that people are willing to pay you money just for a naked picture, and you can do that across like 100,000 people, you deserve every cent of that. I'm not going to judge you.
There is a fetish for everything out there. There is a fetish for everything out there. Even swingers clubs are picking up big time around the world. People are making money sleeping with other people's partners.
Yeah. Oh, yes. I know that. There was a video. I don't know if you guys. I didn't watch it, but it also went viral, of a girl who went to Dubai and she got paid. But she got like shat on. Like there was like shit. There was like
the porta potty.
Yes, that. Yes, and it's like people do that and they get paid, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like maybe it's morals or my dignity. I'm like, I don't think there's a price for that. So I don't know if I can do that.
Demeaning. I mean, that's really demeaning. And you have to ask yourself again, like, what is the mental state of the person who's paying someone in order to do that on them? That's not so nice. There's some weird fetishes in this world. Hey, listen to this. Someone says here, Simphiwe.
Mm-hmm.
People are like,
that's my name.
Your morals are going to leave you broke. That's what someone says. Just let me find it in the comments here. This is hilarious. Yes, Simphiwe, your morals are going to leave you broke, says Dude 69. Just show your feet in Feet Finder. Hopefully you don't have feet like a ballerina. Dogoza says, damn, where do I sign up? See? I know. Yeah. This is amazing. Apparently, EP47 is very excited because he's colored. He says, Bloemfontein, there's a big market for well-spoken colored men. Well, then go on. Do it. Do whatever you want. Jared says, professional porn stars are now using OnlyFans to get away from the porn companies that were getting them to do things they didn't want to do. Well, I suppose
that is right.
Yeah, if you were in, because I remember I interviewed some porn stars when they came to South Africa 5-6 years ago, and I asked them about the stuff and how it works, and how these companies basically, as you get older and less popular as a porn star, you have to do more and more gross things, more and more weird kind of sideline, not so kosher, bizarre things, and those people they get very, very upset by this. It makes them extremely unhappy. They end up doing stuff they don't want to do. So I suppose if you could do it this way and you could control it yourself, you're the one in charge, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Look,
I like the fact that you don't have to actually put out sex videos on OnlyFans. You can literally just be suggestive, which is the great element of it. And obviously people need to sign up and pay for it. So no one's seeing any content for free, which is also great. So we don't know what the hell this girl is posting. But I'm just thinking, I'm not sure. Like, I'd have to live with that. I have to live with the decision that everybody just saw everything.
If you're the cash me outside girl, what could be more embarrassing than that Dr. Philip?
Yeah, you just got 50 million. I mean, come on.
Agree. So listen, do what you want to do. I don't really mind. You make yourself happy if that's what if you need money that badly. And I'm not saying that only people who do this need money. Some people probably do it for fun. I would imagine they're the minority. But you go ahead and do it. I don't like telling anyone what to do, but I also don't know that this is for everyone. It's that clear.
No.
All right. So Wen says, please check out the Kamala Harris and her latest profound speech working together. So I've seen this clip because someone sent it to me on WhatsApp, and I'm going to try and find it for tomorrow's show because you actually have to hear it to believe it. Like, Kamala Harris is the worst public speaker in history. She has absolutely no ability to talk in front of a crowd, and she just says the most inane, nonsensical, circuitous, dumb things. How they ever trot her out at any event is beyond me. But I'll try and get this for you so we can play it tomorrow. So thanks for the reminder, Wins. Louis Theroux, according to Congo Chris, did a great documentary about the porn industry. It's mostly about straight guys doing gay porn. The term given for it is gay for pay.
Wow.
Dogoza says, does OnlyFans still allow adult content? Well, that's the whole reason OnlyFans exists, as far as I can understand.
Yes.
So I don't know why else there'd be an OnlyFans. Otherwise, you just have a Twitter or an Instagram, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So OnlyFans is adult content only, and literally there are people who have hand fetishes, feet fetishes, and that's all they would post. Just their hands, just their feet, and they get paid cash money. Cash money.
Yeah,
Simphiwe,
I'm in the wrong industry.
Do some research and let's find out if it's time for us to get into this world. I mean, make some.
Maybe I can do the hand things. Like, do you guys think my hands are sexy? Tell me now. Are you looking how I'm moving my hand over my face?
You got to touch your lips slower. Touch your lips slower.
Okay. And is that doing anything for anyone? Just let me know.
Careful, Simphiwe. You're gonna have to start charging for this, all right?
Yeah, we just need to know if there's a market. Does anyone like that? I can do longer videos.
Oh, there
just
we go.
Let me know.
All right. I think
there's actually a girl from Cape Town who does tongue videos.
What?
Tongue videos.
What?
Tongue.
No. Says this guy. I mean, really, the guy. To Neil Osman. All right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, it is my great privilege and my delight and my pleasure to bring to you this morning someone who's one of our favorite people who we haven't spoken to in an age, and it is well overdue. So I welcome him, but I also welcome him with the apology that it has taken us so very, very long. Professor David Block, how are you, sir?
I'm looking up, Gareth, and how are you? It's just so awesome to be interviewed by you again.
It's so nice to see you, Prof. So first of all, how have you been? Because COVID affected a whole lot of people in different ways. And for 2.5 years, many people either became hermits or they carried on doing what they always used to do, or they stopped looking up and started looking down, or they had a mask covering their eyes. How did it change for you, the great astronomer, Professor David Block?
Well, fortunately, of course, so much of astronomy today, Gareth, is online. So one could still tap into images being received from outer space. Spaceborne telescopes are just absolutely awesome and send back such rich and crisp detail. But to be perfectly honest, COVID, of course, was a very, very difficult time.
Yes.
I did do, for example, online astronomy masterclasses, and that kept me quite focused and quite busy. I also spent time writing a new book on the subject of bullying. So that is also, it was great to do all these things. But I must say, during the hard part of lockdown, when all my trips were cancelled to Australia and New Zealand and so on, Sydney and Perth, it was a very hard time for me, especially Gareth. I'm a person who loves walking outdoors, who loves looking up. And when we were restricted as we were, and also the wearing of masks all the time really almost drove me crazy. You know, I've just returned from Geneva, and fortunately in Switzerland, you don't need to wear any masks anymore. And that was just so liberating, just to be free again. Astronomers also need to breathe, Gareth.
All right, so Prof, listen, I mean, I'd love to do a more comprehensive catch up with you, but people are fascinated by two things at the moment that I needed your expertise and your experience to help me understand. First of all, we haven't spoken about any massive moves in the world of physics for a very long time. And I know that's something, as well as astronomy, that you're very, very interested. Of course, the two are linked. But there's this picture, is the clearest picture we've ever seen of a black hole in the universe. And I mean, a lot of people were disappointed by this picture, but I'm sure that astronomers all over the world have been blown away by what this means. And we did have some kind of a picture not so long ago there was a little bit more fuzzy around the edges. It didn't really give us much idea of what was going on. How excited should we be about this picture of the black hole? And I'll put it up while you tell us what it all means.
All right. So, Gareth, this is absolutely stunning stuff. I mean, this is the start of which dreams are made. You know, when I was 19 years old, I wrote a paper on Schwarzschild black holes, you know, non-rotating Schwarzschild black holes. And I understand the math, but, you know, we've known for many years, Martin Rees and others predicted many years ago that there may be a supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy, but we never had the capability, the technical capability to do this. You know, Gareth, we needed a telescope the size of the Earth. I want to repeat that. We needed a telescope the size of the diameter of the Earth. And we've got one. It's called the EHT, the Event Horizon Telescope. And
wow.
It literally is a 10,000 kilometer effective dish. It's not one dish. It consists of many little telescopes dotted around the globe. There's one in Antarctica. There's some in Hawaii. There are others in Chile, and so on and so on. And the James Clerk Maxwell Telescope and others. And so it's called VLBI, Very Long Baseline Interferometry. And if you have a telescope with the effective size of the Earth, you can turn it towards the center of our Milky Way in the constellation of Sagittarius and try to image the supermassive black hole there, because we've known for many, many years that stars are orbiting the center of our galaxy at remarkable speeds. And that is exactly what you're seeing in that orange ring over there, is you're seeing gas at millions of degrees centigrade and more, swirling and twirling around this black hole at the center. And matter is feeding in all the time. Astronomers call this a supermassive black hole, predicted by Martin Rees and Donald Lynden Bell and others. Professor Gensel has done remarkable work on imaging the stars around the supermassive black hole.
Prof, I mean, can you explain to us how far away that is? It's very difficult for ordinary folk who are not in the world of astronomy, people like me, who when you talk about light years and you talk about how far away this is, can you perhaps explain to us that picture, why it's significant, and why, for many people, it just looks like a kind of a hazy orange circle? When we consider the distances involved here, that's really what makes it so spectacular. Explain that to us.
I think that it's a very poignant and brilliant question, Gareth. And we are looking at a distance of 26,000 light years. Now, light travels 300,000 kilometers per second, as you know, in vacuum. So what has happened is that the photons from this ring have taken 26,000 years to reach the radio telescopes on Earth. So we are looking back 26,000 years in time towards the very heart of the galaxy. But there's something very important about that. At the very heart of our galaxy, if you look up at the Milky Way, the Via Láctea, what you see is very dark patches in the Milky Way, cosmic dust. And of course, I've been a prof of cosmic dust for 30, 35 years, somewhere around that. But the difficulty is this, Gareth, you can't probe that dust optically. You're looking through 26,000 light years, much of which is just dark smoke, if you like, as the late Mayor Greenberg used to put it. And light, 300,000 kilometers per second in vacuum, 1 light year, 10 to the 12. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the detail. We are literally looking back 26,000 years into time to a supermassive black hole whose mass, and this is very interesting, the mass of that dark area is 4 million times the mass of the sun. 4 million times the mass of the sun. So you imagine this, Gareth. You take the sun, that's 1 solar mass. You take 2 suns, that's 2 solar masses. You take 12 suns, that's 12 solar masses. This is 4 million suns, if you like, have collapsed under the force of gravity to such an extent that nothing can escape from it, not even light. Traveling at 300,000 kilometers per second in vacuum, not even light is able to emerge from that dark area inside the orange ring. That's the majesty, that's the grandeur, that's the splendor of this discovery, a supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy.
Prof, you speak about this almost in poem. You don't even speak of it in prose. I can tell how much you love it, and you make the rest of us love it. But the other thing about this, obviously, and you already indicated this in the previous statement you made, is that it proves things which up to now were just theories, right? I mean, there's so many people who theorize about what happens and how a black hole might work. And in this case, this photograph actually gives us visual proof, even if it was 26,000 years ago, of what one of these things looks like. That is a phenomenal achievement. That gives credence to all the theory.
I think that this is hats off yet again to Albert Einstein, to Schwarzschild, to Kerr and to Newman. We've got the Schwarzschild black hole. We've got the Kerr-Newman black holes. All of these were predicted using Einstein's magical theory of gravitation, of general relativity, of curved space and of curved time. But as you've said, we've never, ever, ever been able to image a supermassive black hole of mass 4 million times the mass of our sun at the very heart of our smoky, if you like, filled with cosmic dust, Milky Way. And it's an extraordinary validation of Einstein's theory of general relativity. You know, Gareth, normally we've known about black holes for many, many, many years, but to be able to observe a supermassive black hole at the very heart of our own galaxy, as I say, takes a telescope of around the diameter of the Earth. And it is a huge validation to Albert Einstein. But, you know, on a much lighter note, Gareth, I loved a little cartoon, which I sent to you by Zapiro. And it's got this orange ring over there with ESCOM at the center, you know, sort of a bit of load shedding. I just love it. Supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. Einstein himself couldn't predict this, and you see all these puzzled faces at the end of the telescope there, and you see ESCOM at the very heart, the supermassive black hole. I think this is just, you know, hats off to our Zapiro as well. It's so remarkable. But yeah, this is the power of maths, today.
So, Prof, I just want to go down a little side road here quickly, because this is the stuff that you think about and work on all the time while the rest of us are going about our daily work. There is all kinds of new work being done, and there are new theories being posited, and there are still some questions being asked around issues. And you kind of hinted at this as well when you talk about those dark parts of the universe that we can't really see, or we can't figure out what that matter is. And people talk about dark matter and about also dark energy and what those might be. How much development have we done in the way of trying to figure out what these other forces are that make the universe expand faster than it should, according to the laws of Einstein's theory of relativity, and what this dark energy is that's doing that? Do we have any clarity? Are we making any progress?
Well, that's just such a lovely question, Gareth. And of course, there are two constituents in our universe of which we know very little. There's dark energy and there's dark matter. One of the greatest pioneers still alive today in the subject of dark matter is my great friend, Professor Kenneth Freeman in Australia. He's one of the world's greatest pioneers in the field of dark matter. But then there's also dark energy. And it turns out that around 96% of our universe has never been observed. We don't know what it is. The dark energy causes the universe not only to expand, but to accelerate as it expands. It's accelerating outwards and outwards and outwards. And of course, the Nobel Prize was won a couple of years ago for the theme and for the subject of dark energy. But we know we are not 1 millimeter closer yet, Gareth, to understanding what is dark energy. What is it made of? What causes the universe to be accelerating as it expands? What causes stars around galaxies to be spinning at remarkable speeds? We call it non-Keplerian decreases, which are proofs of dark matter. Dark energy and dark matter form two of the most beautiful, two of the grandest, two of the most majestic concepts in our cosmos. 96% of our universe consists of dark energy and dark matter, but we haven't come 1 millimeter closer yet to what it really is. We've got all the evidence in the world that it's really there, but we don't know what dark energy and what dark matter actually consist of.
Phenomenal. Some of this stuff is quite mind-bending, but if we bring things back close to home for just a second and we talk about the observable astronomical bodies that we can see with the naked eye, that the moon, there was a lot of excitement on Monday, Prof, and I'm sure that you were observing the moon, and we actually got a picture from Cassandra, who listens to us. She sent me this picture of the eclipse on Monday. Yes. I don't know if you can see that nicely. It's in the middle of the screen there.
It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
The moon was sort of a red. They call it a blood moon. Can you tell us what this is?
Absolutely. So what is happening here is the Earth is coming between the moon and the sun, and so the Earth's shadow is falling on the moon. Now, as the moon enters the Earth's shadow, the short wavelengths, the blue side of the electromagnetic spectrum, gets scattered by our atmosphere, allowing the red light to pass through. And so what you're seeing here in this remarkable picture, which you've got on your screen, is the moon almost in complete totality. In other words, the moon is almost, not completely, but almost covered in full by the shadow of the Earth. And as it does that, the sunlight impinging on our Earth casts a long shadow on the orbiting moon. The moon turns red, then the moon turns blood red. And it is it's a remarkable spectacle to see. I've seen it many times. I remember even as a young schoolboy, age 15, 16, the grandeur of a lunar eclipse, as it's called, a total lunar eclipse, is something which is just so easy to see. You don't need any binoculars. You can just simply look up. But doesn't that go to show, Gareth, that the universe is still filled with such beauty. And at this time of so much travail on the news and so much looking down and so much depression, astronomers are able to take the public via incredible and remarkable people such as yourselves with your incredible following to show people a new perspective, a new dimension, a new way of living, a new way of thinking by looking up at a total lunar eclipse.
Well, I mean, that's one of the reasons we like having you here, Prof. And you make it easy for us to understand some of these quite complicated concepts. Another complicated thing that's supposed to have happened, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but some of the comments here from some of the people listening are about planetary alignments. How often do those happen, and when was the last major planetary alignment that we had? Can you perhaps just from memory try and remind us?
So yes, no, certainly. So planetary alignments are not that rare. Basically, what true planetary alignments, when you've got, for example, Jupiter and Saturn and Uranus and so all almost lined up, those are relatively rare. But there's been a lot of hype in the social media about planetary lineups. And the point really is this, Gareth. How many planets do you need in the night sky to consider it to be a planetary lineup? I really like to see all the major planets lined up in, say, for example, the western swath of our skies. That might happen, in terms of a real grand, almost perfect alignment. That might take decades for actually, for a true alignment to actually occur. But if you're looking at fewer planets, for example, if you're looking at, say, Venus, Jupiter, Mars, or Venus, Jupiter, Saturn, and so on, those are far more frequent. And I've seen them many times over the last couple of years.
Prof, is there a particular astronomical event that you wish you had been alive for? Something that maybe happened 100, 200, 1,000, maybe even more years ago? Is there a thing that would have been observable, even if you hadn't had today's technology, that you wish you'd been alive for in the past?
Well, I've never ever been asked that question before, but yes, there was a supernova, an exploding star in our galaxy. It was just unbelievable. It was observed by the astronomer Johannes Kepler, 1600s. And, that's called Kepler's supernova. And it was just so magically bright. And just imagine, these cascading clouds of light impinging under the force field, and then the star exploding outwards, a supernova. That is something which is just so rare in our own galaxy to behold, one on our doorstep. And yes, if one was alive at the time of Johannes Kepler, one would have observed this supernova. And something like that, I think, it's just so rare. It might happen every couple of 100 years. And that is something, if I were to be alive at any given epoch in history, astronomically speaking, I think that would have been something absolutely magical to behold, to actually see this exploding star, the supernova, just looming so bright in the skies. Delineated and annotated by Johannes Kepler, but of course we are still waiting for another one to happen on our doorstep. But that's just such a lovely question, and maybe you can still be interviewing me when another supernova in our galaxy close by actually happens.
I mean, it could happen, right, Prof? We're unable to map every square inch of the sky, so
absolutely.
There could be. That's why people have built these enormous telescopes, and we have that array in the Karoo in South Africa, which has been doing some interesting stuff recently.
Yes,
but I'm going to let Sunil and Simphiwe ask you a few questions, because I'm sure they do. Everyone has questions because we all grow up looking at the sky and wondering what it all means. So, Sunil, you want to go ahead?
Yes, you spoke about the planetary alignments, which kind of intrigues me, because some people say that there's a gravitational shift that happens on Earth at that time. I mean, how true is that? I mean, does it explain the waves and the pool?
Yes. Unfortunately, that forms into the realm of science fiction. All that's happening here is you've got the planets orbiting the sun. You've got Venus orbiting the sun. You've got the Earth orbiting the sun. You've got Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, whatever. They're all orbiting the sun. So every decade or every 20, 30 years, whatever, it depends on how many planets you want lined up. It will happen that all the planets are in the same area of the sky at approximately the same time. It's got nothing to do with an increased gravitational pull. There's no increased gravitational pull. Gravity obeys an inverse square law. F equals g and 1 and 2 over r squared. It means that as you move the planets further and further out, the gravitational force field decreases very, very markedly. So it gets less and less and less. And so what's happening is, if you've got, for example, two bodies orbiting, they will, for example, be seen in the same part of the sky at certain times. Then they won't be seen at the same part. Then they will. Then they won't. But the point is, there's no enhanced gravitational pull during a planetary lineup. It's just an apparent, a visual perspective. It's an apparent alignment as seen from our planet, as all the other planets are orbiting the sun, and from time to time are in the same approximate area of our skies.
Okay.
Wow.
Thank you.
I could listen to you speak the whole day, and I feel like I just fell in love with like astrology now, and I'm like, please just explain even basic things like the Big Bang Theory, like, because it's like I could hear you speak the whole day, like just even breaking down simple concepts. Now it's like,
this is why people pay to go to university and be lectured by people like Prof. Block, and there are very few people who are as good at what they do as Prof. Block is. I mean, just in case you didn't know, for all those people who are meeting you for the first time, Prof, you are also a highly sought-after inspirational speaker. You talk about not just astronomy, but many other subjects too. And you're also you're a fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society of London. You were selected at age 19 to join that. You wrote a research paper on relativistic astrophysics. You've been a visiting research astronomer at the Australian National University, and I think people need to know this stuff. This is a life of work. The European Southern Observatory in Germany, the California Institute of Technology, Harvard University, amongst others. You've published over 100 astronomy research journal articles, and Prof's research has twice been featured on the cover of Nature, which is a very prestigious journal in the sciences. So this is an absolutely unbelievable list of things, and I've left out so many more, but you've received many, many awards, and you've received the University of the Witwatersrand's highest research accolade, which is the Vice Chancellor's Research Award. I mean, Prof, you really do love what you do, and you've made so many other people love what you do, right?
I think that whatever one does in life, Gareth, you have to fall in love with it. Just like you've got your incredible following and your magical voice on radio and so forth. You've got to love what you do. Whether I've just been invited, I'll be speaking soon at Stanford University and the California Institute of Technology, but you've got to love what you do. And I think that there's so much happening in the skies, as we've discussed today, such as the supermassive black hole in Sagittarius, known as Sagittarius A star, that the public must be made aware of the incredible events unfolding, and of other concepts like dark energy and dark matter and so forth. But yes, I think that in everything you've delineated, the greatest piece of paper I ever received was I was 19 years old. I had just emerged from relative hell in high school as a result of bullying. And I received this piece of paper, Gareth, and it said, "You are elected a Fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society of London." And I think that was the greatest piece of paper I've ever received in terms of academia, because it even went much further, than me receiving my doctor's degree or whatever else, is that it made me feel that I was part of the true giants in astronomy. People like Stephen Hawking, who was there when I was elected a fellow, and others. It makes one feel part of it. Instead of exclusivity, Gareth, there's the degree of you being included amongst these people. And to me, that is forever etched in my memory bank. But yes, my astronomer's taken me around the globe, my motivational speaking also. But I adore communication, because it is just so, the universe is just throbbing and pulsating with beauty.
Prof, I thought about you because I went to Mexico in March, and they took us to the ruins of Chichen Itza, which was obviously set out on a very astronomical plane. The entire city was built based on the compass and observing the skies, and there was an actual astronomical observatory that they had. This is in 1100. And the people who would work in that observatory were these high priests who were essentially also the scientists of their day. And I thought how fortunate we are to know a high priest and scientist of today, and someone who obviously is not filled with mumbo jumbo and all the stuff that perhaps they would have sprouted forth with in order to confuse people back in those days. But these days, who's interested in pursuing truth, who's interested in trying to find the realities of the physical and material world, and to be able to hear not only that, but from someone who's a good communicator like you, who's able to explain these concepts to us, is a real privilege. I've missed talking to you, Prof.
I hope that yourself and Sims and so can organize more of these, because I adore telling your listeners, your followers, about these incredible discoveries. And yes, I've been to Mexico. I was an invited researcher there probably about 10 years ago. I was working at the Astronomy Institute in Puebla, and I went to some of these structures and these pyramidal structures, and I remember going up dozens and dozens, my son Aaron and I, now 30, just climbing up more and more and more steps till you get to this flat sector at the top. And you can imagine what to these ancients, the night sky must have looked like, and especially think of this comets. I think of even Halley's Comet, the fear it caused in people. I mean, they were almost weak in the knees in that painting, the Battle of Hastings of 1066. People literally quivering, the knees almost shaking because of Halley's Comet and other unexplained phenomena in the day. And I think it's just wonderful today to have so much more knowledge and to be able to use this knowledge, such as developed by Albert Einstein, to take us to the very frontiers, not only of the beauty of astrophysics, but the beauty of mathematics, the elegance of mathematics, and the elegance of space-time. I just love that space-time, we're not living in a flat space, but that space is actually curved, and that when I'm looking at you, Gareth, I'm looking at you along the curvature of curved cosmic space time. It's beautiful, it's grand, it's supreme, it's majestic, it's wonderful.
Prof, just to remind people who are captivated by what you've just told us, and we've only been talking to Professor David Block for half an hour, but there are episodes that are still available on cliffcentral.com. If you look up either Professor David Block or his show, Looking Up, we did a whole range of shows over a course of some 2 years where Professor David Block interviewed people from all over the world about complex and simple phenomena in the night sky, some things that we deal with in terms of our lives on planet Earth, and questions that you may have about some of these things. You must go and listen to episodes of Looking Up, because they're still there. They're available for download. You can listen to them anytime you like, and we'll get you in, Prof, and have a proper conversation and catch up sometime soon. But it's a delight to see you, and thank you very much for being on the show this morning.
Thank you, Gareth. It's just been such an honor to be with you. I just adore being with you. And also, people are very welcome to join my Facebook page just under David Block. And there we continually update my followers on about recent astronomical findings. But Gareth, to Neil, thank you so much. And keep those incredible smiles. I see the radiance of Sim's teeth. Always keep them bright and shiny. We love you lots.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Prof. And keep looking up. That's what
Thank
we
you so much.
rely on
Thank
you for.
You so much. Thank you
there he
so
is.
much. Bye-bye.
Professor David Block, what a guy, and such interesting stuff that's going on. I mean, when you think about the fact that they've taken that picture of something that happened 26,000 years ago, and yet it proves things that have been postulated only in the last 100 or so years by the greatest minds that have ever walked the earth. It's phenomenal. It's astronomical. That's the only word to use here.
Yeah.
But thank you so much, Sunil, for being part of the show this morning too. Sim, we will see you on the show on Wednesday, but Simphiwe is there every day, making sure things work in the background, and thank goodness for that. She's like the curvature of space-time that we need to keep the show moving. And we will see you tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. bright and early. Have a great day, everybody. Cheers.
Bye.
Peace.